Perfect. Alrighty. Welcome to Excel Day 1. This is going to be our screencast for this lesson. And yeah, welcome. This will be great. We're going to be learning a lot about spreadsheets and all that Excel can do for us. So just like always, download your files from files.learnsoftware.org, just with that Day 1 file. And in your Finder, they're going to appear just like this in their own little folder. And we'll have two files right here. But we're actually going to get started in Excel. So if you just type in Excel in your search right there, it'll pull this up for you. So the first thing that you'll notice is that Microsoft Excel has a lot of templates that you can work with. Make a list, money, budget kind of stuff. These are a lot of common uses, right, for Microsoft Excel, and they are very useful. So just know that they are there. But for right now, we're not going to be using them. There's also the new, which is just a ton more templates that you can definitely look through if you'd like, recent, open. So we're just going to be coming down and open because we already have an Excel workbook that we want to get started in. So if you just come to open, I'll show that again, open right here on my Mac and enter data, this Microsoft Excel workbook. And just know that XLSX is the file extension for an Excel workbook. So once you find that, make sure that's selected and then just hit open. And great. Okay. So these are the first two spreadsheets that we're going to be working with here. And first, I just wanted to kind of quickly go over the terminology that we use for Excel. For example, the rows in Excel are going to be numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and etc. Just like that, these are the rows, and these will be the columns. And you'll notice that the columns are lettered, A through Z, and then it continues even farther. And then each cell, so when I say cell, I just mean one little rectangle, one box here. Each cell has its own name. So for example, right here, this cell that I have selected is C4 because it's in the C column and in the fourth row. So that'll be important once we start getting into some formulas and functions and stuff like that. And then another important thing to note is that right here is our formula bar. So that's where we're going to be inputting our formulas, right? That we want to make it do something, make it calculate something for us. It'll all go right there in our formula bar. And then a couple more things. Down here we have our two sheets. So you can tell that they're completely different, right? They're not just right next to each other, but they're two separate sheets. With these sheets, you can actually rename them just by right-clicking on top of one of the names, and you come up to rename. And here we can say names. Sure. Cool. And then also another thing that you can do is change the tab color if you'd like. I always like to do this. It helps me stay organized with these. So you could like make it blue or something. And then we'll do the same thing here. Rename it, calculator. And then we can change the tab color to like pink. Sure. Cool. Alrighty. So in our first sheet here, the names sheet or whatever you named it, first name, last name, male or female. This is just kind of for an example, just to show some keyboard shortcuts that there are with Microsoft Excel. So I'm just going to quickly go over them. So you can, put in a name like Jim, and all you'll do is just click into a box and start typing, and it will put it up into this formula bar for you. And then if you want to go to the right one box, then you'll just hit the tab character. So we'll say um, Jim, I don't know, Johnson. Cool. Okay, so it's the same process. Once I'm done typing the last name, tab again, and we can come over to male or female, use a male. And then once we want to enter a new person, right, underneath Jim, you'll hit the return button or the enter key. And it will bring you back over in the next row down in the first name column. And then, Jim and Jill. Jill Harper or something. And female. Okay, so just those two um, keyboard shortcuts are going to be super useful. Tab to go to the right, and then Enter to go to a new line and like a new row. Okay, and also very important are if you hold down Command and you use your arrow keys, you can jump all the way to the end of your Excel file. It's a lot easier than just using, scrolling all the way over there, whatever. That would just take forever. And then, yeah, and then like Shift, you can select multiple guys just like that. Okay, perfect. So this is a time where we could have an activity. You can have them just practice some more keyboard shortcuts and just inputting some names here. So I'll just give you a few minutes to do that. Okay, and now we're just going to move on to calculator. This calculator sheet down here. Okay, perfect. So you can see this is our little calculator. We have some instructions here. Basically, we're going to add in a formula here. A formula, basically, we'll talk more about that in the future days. But the formula will do something for us, right? So if we wanted to add two numbers, so you can just put in two random numbers, 8 and 13, and say you had no idea what that equaled for some reason. You can say equals in our formula bar. So click on this H column here. We'll say equals, and then you can click the number. So D5, or in my case 8, click on D5, and then on your keyboard, you'll put the plus sign, and then click on what you want to add it with, right? So my 13. So D5, which is this cell, plus F5, this cell, and we'll see what it gives us. Once you have your formula in there, you can either hit the check up here, or you can just hit return. And boom, gives you 21. Okay, we'll practice that again, but this time with subtraction, right? So you can try out like 15 minus 4. Okay, and then just don't forget the equal sign. That's how Microsoft Excel will know that it is a formula that you're trying to compute something. So in here equals this one minus that. All right, perfect. Okay, and then, yeah, so I'll just give you guys a couple minutes and you can do the rest of these. That can be an activity as well during the class. So cool. Okay, and once you're done with that, you can also show that these formulas stick around even if you change the numbers. Just like it says here, you can change the input numbers, right? So if we say want to change this 4 to a 10 or something, you hit enter and boom, our calculator remains true. It recalculates that every time the value in one of your selected cells changes. So that's going to be super important. That's why we do these formulas, so that you don't do it, so that you don't have to do the calculation in your head every single time you want to change one of those. Okay, perfect. So that is our names and calculator sheets here. Now we're going to be moving on to some other stuff with importing. So you can create a new workbook if you want. That'll probably work best for what we're going to do here. Just open up a new spreadsheet workbook, and we're going to import some data. So we'll come to our data tab here and get data. Alrighty. So here there's a few data sources that you can use with Excel. You can either import a like existing Excel workbook, a text file, CSV, XML, JSON. Those ones, you don't need to worry too much about these. They're not super common, but the ones that we will be focusing on will be either an existing Excel workbook or a text file. So this one will be a text file. So we'll click there. We'll browse for it, day one text. Okay, get data, and you'll just hit next. Okay, perfect. And we'll see that our delimiter, so here you'll kind of explain what a delimiter is. It's searching for this character. It can be a tab, space, semicolon, and wherever it finds that delimiter, it's going to take the next value into the next column. So Johnson, and then there was a tab here, Baker, tab, student, tab, etc., etc. So once you have that, you can just hit load, and great. So we have some data here to work with. Okay. So here we're going to be working with a couple simple functions, and this is a good time to explain the difference between formulas and functions. So formulas is what we were doing before with just one cell times or plus another cell, right? And it's kind of more manual. Functions are just kind of pre-made for us that Excel already has in the software that you can just say like equals sum of these two, right? For an example, but I'll definitely show you some of these. So this is an example of a function in this quarter with minimum salary. We're going to be using a function. This is a fairly simple one. So you're going to say equals min in all caps, and then open parenthesis, and it will say number one, number two, and this will find the minimum value of a set of values. So I want to find the minimum, a quarter with the minimum salary, right? So I'll just highlight all of their quarters, close that brace, and hit enter. Okay, and that worked pretty well. It found this quarter. That was the minimum there. Okay, great. Okay, and then just some, let's see, max. Oh, max is very similar. So equals max, open parenthesis, highlight the values that you want, close the parenthesis, and hit enter. And you'll get that out for you. Okay, and then total salary. This is going to be the sum function. SUM, and then open parenthesis again, highlight your values, close the parenthesis, and equal. Okay, great. Cool, cool, cool. And then taxes. This one's actually going to be a bit of review from the last one because this is just going to be a formula here. So if you just say equals, right, their total salary times, this is that little star icon, and then our tax rate. You can close the parenthesis, hit enter. Oh, didn't like that because our total salary right here is actually just a formula. So we're going to need to change that a bit. But that's fine. Equals. So we're actually just going to say K2 times, and then that guy right there, our tax rate. And that one should work. Okay, cool. So this number is 87,000, that guy. times our 0.25. And yeah, my mistake with that, but sometimes you'll want to actually just input K2 instead of just clicking because it's going to reference the formula and not actually the value of, 87,000 there. Okay, so now we have this whole table, right? And we want to find the quarter with the minimum salary for all of these guys, not just the first one. So to do that, there's a couple different ways that we can do this. One is you can hover your mouse over this bottom right corner and click and drag all the way to the bottom of your list. And it will take that function and it will copy it to all of these different rows here. Okay, so that's one way. Another way is you can double click right there where I dragged and it will do the same thing. It's going to fill into the bottom of my table. Bottom of the table actually goes down to this bottom too. That's fine. But you can see how I did that same thing. It copied that same function all the way down. And then of course, if you ask your class, what's one way that you can copy and paste a function somewhere else, someone will probably say you can Control C and Control V. And that is very true. You can do that. Might be a little slow in this case, but it'll work too. I usually just like to click and drag just like that. Okay, and then this is a time when you can show how absolute reference works. So you can either show it with the taxes and show that it just doesn't work, which is what I'll do right here. So if you try and copy that, and so you'll get a bunch of zeros, right? Because this one's referencing N17, but this one's N18. There's nothing in N18, so it just thinks it's zero, right? So it's taking whatever their total salary is and just multiplying it by nothing, just zero. So that's why here you're getting zero. So this is where we're going to need our absolute reference. Okay, so what an absolute reference means is that it's going to take this N17 and it's going to say, okay, don't move, right? When I copy this function, right, you're going to change this one. You're going to change the K2 to K3 to get, Adams Lewis, his salary. But the tax rate, I don't want that to change. It's in that cell and it shouldn't change. Okay. So in Excel, an absolute reference, you make that by just putting in the dollar sign before both of your values there. Okay, great. And now with this new formula that we've made, now you can click and drag that down and you'll see that it's going to work for us here. Okay, great. So that's that. A little bit of formatting as well. This is pretty simple stuff that wouldn't be hard to do on the first day of class. You can change these all to money. So right now it's just in general number format. You can just easily just change that to accounting, right? With this dollar sign right there. And then our phone numbers, it's going to be fairly similar. You'll come into general right here as well. And I believe it's in, yeah, more number formats. And then phone number will be, let's see if I can find it. It's in custom. See. Special. Okay. Isn't special. Sorry. Okay. So if you just come to phone number and special, it's going to format that just like that. So, right, it looks like the phone number. So that's all great and dandy. Another thing you can do with these numbers, with these money numbers, is you can increase or decrease the decimals. So this one, you'll actually have a couple decimals off to the right that you probably want for your taxes. But all these other ones are just, right, decimal 00. So it's not super important. So you can use one of these to increase or decrease the decimal. And you'll just click right there to decrease it, and it will just go by one increment each time that you click right there. So you can decrease the decimal so that you just don't have a bunch of random zeros in there. Okay, and then the last thing for this day one will just be a couple data cleaning things that are super easy. So you come to data, okay, and then you'll just highlight all of your data, and we'll say, okay, like we don't want any duplicates in here. If there's any same person twice, we want to get rid of them. So we can remove duplicates. And then here you can explain that it's going to look for an exact copy based off of all of these. If you just did first name, if two people are named Joe, it's going to get rid of one of them, right? So for our purposes, we'll say select all since we want them to be exactly the same person, right? And we'll just hit OK. It's going to say, okay, 8 duplicate values found. Cool, that's great. And then you can get rid of that there. Okay, so that's basically all for today, for this first day of Excel day one. So at this point, you can, oh, so this tax thing kind of messed up just because okay, we'll fix that. Okay, now we're good. So that's Excel day one. Thank you for listening. Hope you guys followed along well. And if you have any questions or anything like that, um, I hope you guys are able to look it up into on the interwebs. But yeah, thank you.